We were one of the first nations to set up a chip fab in Chandigarh. It was a government chip, which got mysteriously burned down. We were the third most surveilled nation by the Americans. The first two were Iran and Pakistan. Third was India. If you look into the history of OSI, it was started off by a military officer. He's supposed to have met the premier of China at that time. He told the premier, unless you have a company like OSI, it is like entering the battlefield without an army.
Initially, we were told we are hallucinating, that phones are not listening to our conversations. It's only when we click at something. But now this marketing firm, which works for the big tech companies, they say that they are listening to phone conversations.
There's a very famous case where of a girl sitting on a loo. She allowed a smart vacuum cleaner to come in, and that a smart vacuum cleaner had taken a picture of hers and it got leaked out into the net. Supposing if that's your phone, how confident are you, Ishan, that that is not back?
No, after a conversation with you, we'll never be confident ever.
Why would an AI company need a former intelligence operative?
4-star general, right? So he definitely is not a coder. Why would you put a very, powerful retired general on your board? Think about it.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is Colonel Pavithran Rajan, military veteran, tech entrepreneur and academic. He's a former advisor at the Ministry of Home Affairs. Colonel Pavithran has appeared on the podcast in earlier episodes number 66 and 113. The conversation today began with the pager attacks in Lebanon and then the larger context of ICT. Joining me in the conversation today is my colleague Ishan Prakash. Thank you, Colonel Pavithran, for coming back to the podcast. Today, Ishan is joining us in this conversation. Of course, I want to begin right away with the pager because my generation, for us, like the pager was the first one before the cell phones came in, and before that was walkie-talkie we were using for the news purposes. So I want to begin with that, but then we'll go on to, of course, the war and data piracy and all that, and big data, a whole host of questions. But I'll let Ishan begin today about the war and what you have to say about that.
Colonel Saab, thank you for being on the podcast. We'll begin straight away at what's going on in West Asia. It seems that since we heard this, we got to know about this news about these simultaneous explosions, pager explosions, that things are just ramping up. I guess the escalation matrix also just kept ramping up. So let's begin with the actual the explosions that happened and which took out large number of Hezbollah cadres. What was your first reaction when you heard about this sort of low tech being booby trapped by, let's be honest, Israeli operatives, and which led to these simultaneous explosions?
Okay, firstly, thank you for having me back, I think third time now.
Yes.
The first reaction when it happened was, it was bound to happen. Okay, because this is, when you talk about information warfare, unlike conventional warfare where they go for the mass of people, information warfare is for a specific individual. You can choose whom you target specifically. Now that this is happening in a kinetic way was bound to happen. Okay, from my perspective. Now the only thing is the whole, infrastructure weaponized, or is it only a select few?
So you're calling this an information warfare?
Of course.
Because an information device is being weaponized.
Yeah. Okay, let me...
Usually when we say information war, we talk about propaganda.
Yeah.
That's the general opinion.
Yes, that is a popular, this of information warfare.
But since you have been in the intel services...
So information warfare, like I last time told you, is an American concept. So if you look at initially when a concept starts off, okay, then it is slowly taken to a different direction. But information warfare has two main heads. One is the propaganda, that is a cognitive, where you target. Yeah. The rest is the infrastructure itself. So we talked about a kill switch last time.
Kill switch, yes.
But now it has graduated to a switch that can kill. Okay. So think about it this way.
Okay.
The ultimate, war, okay, is to win without even fighting. So if you can get your opponent to buy all your ICT devices from them. You advertise, make it into brands, you get the whole world to buy it. And at time of choosing, if you can take them off one by
Switch to
one.
kill.
Yeah.
So, what we spoke about in an earlier podcast with you was that if we buy cell phones or we buy technology from a particular vendor and that vendor is working for a foreign government who's antithetical to India, they can use a kill switch to kill all that technology. And if we are dependent on it for absolute necessities like water, electricity, and
Payments.
stuff like that, payments, then that kill switch will shut down everything, or, banking sector and whatever. Here, it's instead of shutting down, it has blasted. So it's information warfare because information technology has been weaponized.
Yes, so it is information warfare because unlike a conventional bomb, which will just go off in a particular area and it doesn't discriminate between people, here is 3,000 pages exploding, which is a particular batch of things only for one organization. There was some collateral damage, but imagine the claim is they have neutralized 3,000 Hezbollah.
Yeah.
And only 9 civilians have been casualties.
But what Ishan asked at that time was that what was your first reaction when you heard?
For me, it was bound to happen.
So when you heard it, you saw it on, I'm guessing, X or...
You said
I saw it on
you
X.
said it was bound to happen. You mean an Israeli retaliation was bound to
So
happen?
I'm not talking about per se the Israeli and Hezbollah. For me, I just look at the progression of warfare. It's an academic look at
But
how...
this is where I want to ask you, haven't we already seen stuff like this in the past? You see, I remember in the mid-2000s and all, when Indian Mujahideen, or maybe early 2000s, Indian Mujahideen was active over here. They also used these small IED devices like phones, etc., on top of bicycles, tiffin boxes on top of bicycles, remotely detonated as well.
Yes.
So we saw the scale is more here.
No, not at all. See, a booby trap is always been there. Okay, you can disguise anything like a tiffin box. You can do that, and you put an IED is something. Here is a device which that organization has been using for 5 months. Okay, so they mapped them out, and at the time of their choosing, they blasted it. That's a totally different method of poisoning the supply chain. They say, what if it's poisoning the whole technology itself? Now today, we again are all speculating. Second this blast happened, so much of speculation has happened. Oh, this is, this has been started off by one company. It has got explosives which have been put into this particular set of devices. Truth is, we have no clue. The people who have done it themselves will be taking out, no? There is bound to be, counter propaganda. There's bound to be narratives to fool people, right? But supposing is it that all the batteries are weaponized? All the lithium-ion batteries are weaponized. As of date, we do not know. So for me, it's classical information warfare, weaponizing the infrastructure itself.
But how more dangerous a place it has become now, because now will airlines allow us to take our cell phones in the cabin? We can't really use it unless maybe Wi-Fi will be stopped.
So what is the narrative which has come out? That this particular batch of phones have been, booby trapped with some plastic explosive, right? That's what has come out.
Right.
So the supply chain was infiltrated.
Yes. So there is no forensic investigation to prove this, right? If you
Correct.
think about it.
Yeah.
There is no third party which has done a forensic investigation and said, oh, this is how it has happened. No, this is all what we are right now hearing is all suppositions, okay? Or people have taken it out and experts have come out with comments overnight. Oh, this is how it would have happened.
Oh.
We do not know at this stage.
Okay.
Okay. So, as a professional, we don't speculate. Yeah, we know that these are the possibilities, but as a professional, we do not speculate. So, what has happened is 3,000 pages, which has been used for 5 months. That means, are you used to carrying around an IED which can explode remotely if someone else? It's a different ballgame altogether, right? Supposing if that's your phone. How confident are you, Ishan, that that is not back?
No, after a conversation with you, we'll never be confident ever.
So, to your question of will it stop? So I was asked this question by someone else. I said, I doubt the airlines will stop because that will shut down the entire surveillance economy, right? You think about it. You must have heard it. I've heard a lot of journalists about 10 years back saying, oh, everything is going to come on a smartphone, right? Your entire press is coming. Today, it's all on a smartphone.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the amount of, preparation to have gone on to ensure everything comes on a smartphone. They won't shut it down overnight. That's my simple surface. Okay. but we don't know. The world is very difficult to predict. But I will be very, we can't help it. Can we move around without the smartphone? Everything is tied to that smartphone today.
Correct.
We are transiting to a 100% digital economy. Everything about the digital economy in India is tied to that smartphone. So today, we don't manufacture smartphones. We don't manufacture batteries. Everything is assembled.
But it doesn't really matter now. Even if we manufacture everything ourselves, that's not going to happen. Even if we talk about Atmanirbhar, which we spoke in the earlier episodes. Even if a country X manufactures the cell phones, manufactures the network, the components are going to come from somewhere. The network is going to come from somewhere. You can't do everything on your own. Somewhere it could get infiltrated, right?
So society...
Don't have enemies is one thing.
Society, if you look at history very carefully, you'll realize that societies and nations change when warfighting technologies change. That is, you can't escape from that. If the horseman comes, you can't say, oh, now the warfare has changed. It's changed irretrievably.
Right.
The day the airplane came in, warfare changed.
Yes.
So if warfare is going to change, societies will just adjust to... People have to stay alive, right? Nations have to survive. So I'm just saying that as of now, what you're saying looks plausible, but you'll realize this global supply chains, etc., how old are they? These ICTs, how old are they? The smartphones, how old are they? If it is weaponized. But one thing let me tell you.
Doesn't matter, right, how old
One
they
thing
are.
let me tell you. For people who are highly protected, for organizations which are critical like intelligence organizations, military, etc., can a nation afford to take the chance to have something which someone else has produced anymore?
And this is where what you just said, I think it is Chinese sort of policy where the entire chain they would like to keep within their shores to prevent that situation where it's not just a cheap assembly plant, essentially. And I mean, I've read a lot of your readings, your presentations as well, and they mention a lot about the Chinese supply chain, how they try to keep it within its own sort of ecosystem, heavily controlled by the CCP.
So the Chinese, I have told this before, they only copy what the Americans are doing. So if you look at it, it's the Americans who have not supplied, trusted supply chains.
Okay.
They allowed, till I told you, confidentiality, integrity, availability was what is cybersecurity, till Huawei went ahead in 5G. And then they realized Huawei is going to be the default platform. They said no. Now it's got a geopolitics. Till that time, the rhetoric was there's no geopolitics involved. It's a global village.
You're saying the Huawei 5G antennas, etc., they came before the American-made 5G antennas?
No. So ICT, who created the internet, who created all these technologies, you will realize it's all
American.
American.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. They never anticipated that the Chinese will come back and start dominating this in the way it did. Till 4G, the Americans were dominating.
Yes.
Okay. But 5G, the Chinese,
Leapfrogged.
Yeah. And Huawei today is the world leader in 5G. And what is the immediate American reaction? They went and sanctioned Huawei. Because they realized that if you allow Huawei to become the default 5G, platform for the world, then China controls. This is a strategic domain.
So anyone else controlling other than the Americans is rogue technology then?
See, read.
I'm
not
reading
saying,
your mind.
I'm not. This. If you read this, is what is openly being proposed.
Okay.
If you study this, clearly there are two camps. Whatever is American is trusted. Whatever is not American is no longer
But
trusted.
they've used American technology in this, in the pager bombing.
So they've used parts of American technology.
Or European. What was it that they were using?
So this particular
Supposedly,
thing. Okay, this pager specifically, what you're talking about, what I've read again in open source.
Yeah.
That it is supposed to be a Taiwanese company which has manufactured this. Taiwanese companies say no, we only gave a license. Another friend company is manufactured. I even came to know there is a Keralite who's
this one single person who's you can take credit for that
so
now.
think about it. Christian guy who's gone to Europe.
Yeah.
He set up the company. So because if you look at it, Hezbollah would be very careful whom they purchase from, right? They're a organization which is under a lot of scrutiny, and they got tremendous enemies, right? They are considered a terrorist organization. So just imagine precautions which people would have taken before they start trusting.
So several firewalls, right? Whoever was I mean, it's quite clear whenever you talk about warfare, who's the end beneficiary? End beneficiary is Israel. If end beneficiary is Israel, that means they put up several firewalls. So one of that is supposedly this Keralite guy. Then there is somebody else who owns the business. Then there is a Taiwanese company. So it's so many firewalls that it all becomes hazy, and that's why the Hezbollah fell for it.
Okay, so it's slightly more complicated.
Okay.
Imagine when our organization decides to buy, for example, pager. They were initially on smartphones. Then they, Nasrallah is supposed to have said that this is dangerous. Smartphones are dangerous. Let's move out of smartphones. At that time, they didn't announce that we're going to go for pagers, did they? They didn't take
No,
out
they
a
didn't, yeah.
They only said smartphones are dangerous. We need to
So-
move. Just imagine. So, the idea of pagers, to buy that particular pager, to get that pager to be from a... it's quite a bit of,
Yeah, intrigue.
So either they have somebody in the inside
So that is...
who might have
that-
planted that idea of a pager.
So there you are. There you are. Now you're beginning to understand what is the information operation all about. Okay? So someone has got something. Someone has planted their idea. And someone has ensured the entire decision making is finally come to those 5,000 pages. As of date. Beautiful, no?
Yeah, and immediately after the pagers went off, all of them who got injured switched on their cell phones because they all have cell phones. They switched on their cell phones, and through the cell phone, the hospitals were informed. So Israel immediately got to know how many injured. So that entire network of names is now available. And the extent of injuries is also available because now they've gone on to the cell phone.
So I am not aware of this particular part whether they switched it off or on or not. But globally, I have told you the entire cell networks are penetrated. Okay?
Yeah.
So there are multiple ways to get that information.
And this is where I want to come in. Because I want to, now just to say a step
Encrypted
back, I want to talk
conversations.
about encryption, but I also want to talk about what the internet is all about as it stands right now. I want to talk about the OSI layer of the internet. And from there, we'll keep expanding onto where we stand on data encryption, cryptography, how data moves across, and how it can be tapped into by various agencies. So, this is where
So this
we
is
are.
this is a theoretical layer. Any appliance, okay, any ICT appliance will have the 7 layers. This is theoretical,
But
but
you
that
can
is
just expand what ICT
information communication technologies.
There you go.
So down below is physical. That is the chips.
The
okay?
first
The first one is like an Ethernet connection.
chips,
a
the chips.
hardwire. Yes.
So that's from where the chips come, right?
Yes.
Rest all are theoretical layers, which is in the operating systems and goes up to the application layer.
And the application layer would be your phone's Google front end, basically.
So
stuff.
application layers are the apps.
Yes.
Okay, so Google, etc., is an app which is existing out there. For example, WhatsApp is existing over there in application.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so I have tried to explain to people your entire Indian, ecosystem of startups. They're all on application 7.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's wrong?
so if you build a national defense, you should, so each layer is dependent on the layer down below. Okay, so if you have an encrypted app on layer 7,
So these are the foundations.
unless you control layer 1 to 6, there is no security.
Right.
So
Now,
at level 3, if you have, say, a Huawei, and you have an antagonistic relationship with China, you have
you have cutoff points
Cutoff.
over here. So this is exactly what I want to talk about, sir. If we start with level 1. Level 1 is the hard fiber optic connectivity. And there, if we begin with just the foundational level.
Chips.
The
Chips. It all starts with chips.
Chips. If we just go with chips right there, and also submarine cables, etc., where these chips are integrated, which is flowing, where data flows, where the internet comes from. If it's owned by sovereigns that are not in line with the Indian way, it can be compromised right here.
Yes. So let us now go back into the history of internet.
Yes.
I last time also told you it generated a lot of heat. Is what I have been. This whole internet has been created to control the populations of the world. Okay. Not family planning.
Yes.
Population control.
this population control. There are papers on it. Please read up. on this. Yes, go ahead.
So the internet is meant to control.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah. That is how it was developed.
Yeah, okay.
Then it's transformed where the narrative said, no, this is to ensure that communication networks don't break down in case there are nuclear strikes.
Okay.
So a lot of people started, getting into it. I told you about a book written by, Yasha Levine called Surveillance Valley. There is beautifully brought out what is the internet and how did it start off, why DARPA created that internet, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you understand that internet, it has been posited that is the best intelligence system ever created by man. Okay, this internet. So the whole aim of that internet was to control the whole globe and the populations therein. Okay, and chips. So if you look back, when they visualize that the internet is going to, in the few decades is going to, they visualize that there is going to be interconnected computers globally. They realize that sovereignty of nations will reduce if there is going to be interconnected computers. What did they do? They started preparing their population by introducing the concepts of privacy. Because finally it's a nation state, right? That's a building block. So the Western nations decided we have to educate our population on privacy. So given it 1 generation, 2 generations, today they are culturally, the Western population knows privacy is very important. They are privacy conscious, which has never before been there in human history. Okay? All religions, all cultures have always tried to make
Community,
Yeah. Open, they wanted, if you look at tribal communities, everyone wants to keep everything open, right? So that there is trust developed. So they introduce this concept of privacy. Today, there is literature when they study, they say, the Western populations culturally are privacy conscious. What about third world countries, tribal populations, etc.? They have no culture of privacy. It's exploit. So that itself is creation of a narrative, right? By policy, you change culture. So we also, before entering, we should have done this. Now, if you look at, just to give you an example, we were one of the first nations to set up a chip fab in Chandigarh.
Really?
Yes. We were ahead of the Taiwanese, etc. had not even thought of it.
Panwire, no.
No, yes. So it was a government chip, which got mysteriously burned down. And if you just Google out on the internet, people always say, this was a foreign hand who burned it down. We don't know. But
before Taiwan.
Yeah, we entered into this world much before. If we had persisted in that particular journey, just imagine where we would have been today. But after burning down, for some reason, no one ever went into the chips. Okay? And a company like Huawei. Now, if you look into the history of Huawei, it was started off by a military officer. He's supposed to have met the premier of China at that time. And the literature says he told the premier to enter, unless you have a company like Huawei, it is like entering the battlefield without an army. Right? And that is where the Chinese backing for Huawei as a T came. And they created what it is.
So the premise was weaponization of tech, not democratization or privacy as the Western media constructs were.
So they know very well
that this is
so they are the people who created it. They know what it is. But why did we blindly take on this narrative? Why was there no debate? So I have posited, because I have also carefully thought of why this was, So who in India, the security environment is dominated by the police guys, the IPS. They dominate the intelligence cadres. They dominate the higher level of, the security establishment. But these police officers, they always have, their job is to fight crime. Okay? And if you look at the history of India, how we have come across, when we built those building blocks, it was all about fighting crime. To enable our outsourcing industry, fighting crime, cyber crimes. Okay? Where was the military? I met a deputy NSA who said at that time, okay, they said when we asked the military said, okay, do not involve us. Leave our networks to ourselves. You do what you have to do. Now, why does such a thing come? It is not that, okay, a junior officer gets commissioned, joins the army, and he becomes a general in maybe 30 years plus. Now, it's how you make him a general. It's for the nation to create the general, right? How does that soldier, how does he become a general? The general is all about the experience and the thinking.
Yes.
So in India, since you have kept the military at arm's length away from policy decision, So that is a culture which has evolved.
You're saying there's no cohesion when it comes to a coherent digital strategy amongst various forces. They have their own silos.
Okay, so think about it this way. Okay, I was one of the first one to, my background is arts. Okay, I'm from the National Defense Academy. So in JNU, I did a BA. So I came into this domain after 10 years in the infantry. New domain. But since I had not been taught this domain and I was trying to learn it myself, I was just applying a military template to it. Correct? When you enter a domain, after 10 years, you already know the military domain. You have an idea of what the military is all about, everything can be. And I could immediately see, oh, this doesn't look like what it is supposed to be. At that time, mark you, all the literature which is today available was not there. Snowden Revelations had not happened. But I could see that, okay, what they are saying doesn't seem to be true. Cyber security, is it a domain of security or cyber? There is an engineering aspect definitely to it, but it's a domain of security.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Finally, it's a domain of security. But why didn't the rest of the Indian military think? The first guy, gentleman to recognize in the military hierarchy was General Huda. When he was in Northern Army commander, he tried to create, he said, okay, Snowden had happened. He said, I want to change the operating system. I want, this foreign operating systems out.
That's rather late. You're talking about the 2010s now.
He actually visualized this in 2012.
Okay.
Okay.
Colonel
2013, yeah.
I want to bring this thing when you were just talking about. This was in 2023 and they met again this year, and for the first time they spoke together. The Five Eyes chiefs, the Intel community, they spoke. Now they hosted this summit for the first time ever. They came on air and they spoke and they said that to drive to secure innovation in response to intelligence threats. Now there's this whole thing about whenever new innovations come in, new technology comes in, these countries, these Five Eye countries have an Intel person sitting there to visualize how it will benefit the Intel community of their own country and how to build a firewall if the enemy nation who they pursue as does that. Does India have a similar thing? We have something called, I believe, in the national security setup, we have now something called approved vendor or something like that. Trusted vendor or something like that, where if a foreign investor is coming in or foreign technology is coming in, they need that tag of approver. So if I'm a tech company and I want to import something from Europe and there's a vendor there, I need that vendor to have that tag of approved vendor if I'm bringing in that tech into India, right? What about an Indian tech company which is coming out with that? Do we have this kind of eyes on our tech industry?
So for me, when I see this sort of headlines, it's a little bit of oxymoron. Because if you look at Snowden, what have they bought out? That it is the Five Eyes who have backdoored all the, all the tech companies of the world.
Yes.
Correct? So when they say that we are going to secure, it is for themselves. It's a context. They're going to secure for themselves, not for us.
Correct.
Okay. But we don't, now since to answer your question, why is Europe trusted? Why is Americans trusted? We have forgotten 75 years back, they were the guys who were ruling us. Today, we don't see them as a security threat. That itself is a victory, right?
For them.
For them.
Yes.
Okay. Think about it. In, if you look at international relations, it's widely, everyone knows there are no permanent friends. Only permanent interests. So, today they're friends. Tomorrow, look at how Chinese came and dominated over this. 20, 30 years back when Huawei made their first strides and entered it. At that time, there was peace, at that time. But no one said that China is a friend. There was only peace.
So that even India, right? We don't trust any country.
I'm talking about India.
Yeah, so India, we haven't trusted anybody to that extent. We are in a security partnership with America, but it's not as if we trust them blindly. We also do stuff.
So
let's not give ourselves this halo.
But this is where I disagree with you, because the question here is, if you compare China and India and the digital policies of both these countries, do we give the same? I mean, we give a lot of safe harbor to these Western tech companies. Why does China not give them that kind of safe harbor? Have they, just because they have entry into the Indian market and they have these marquee investments over here, do we allow them backdoor entry into all this data that Indians are putting out over here?
So I'm glad the son is there. Sometimes you need a son to take on the mom. Okay. So, so I have always said, I'm purely an academic out here. If we do not trust, the evidences don't show that. The evidences show that we are trusting. And if we are actually not trusting and we are still doing those actions, I don't know what it is then. Like, for example, when I told you about this Dr. Akshay Agarwal, the founder, Vice Chancellor of Gujarat Technological University, I had written a paper and how when the Modi government had come, he had invited me and all those gentlemen, old gentlemen who had planned everything. So I was suddenly called up on stage, and so I started off by saying, no one told me to give a speech. So if I say something, it is because I have not prepared myself. So I will speak bluntly. Please do not take it personally. So when I looked at our national security strategy on, IT, I said there are only two deductions which a guy can make. One is people who have created this do not know what they've done. Other is we are compromised. I said there is no place for the third deduction. You either don't know. If you know and you have done it, that means what is it? What is that? Because all nations are national security states. A nation survives on security. So if you have knowingly undermined your security, what sort of nation are you? Now, since your son has clearly said that he doesn't agree, I know you are saying that we know, but either we don't know.
Or we're compromised, you're saying.
Of course. So here, this is historically, okay, as a student of, academic student, when I look at Indian foreign policy, we always go for intention. Okay, I'm not political, but I'm just saying, China, at one point it was Hindi, Chini, bye bye. That is intention. We would like them to be brothers, correct? Neighboring country. But can you really take it as policy? You have to keep your powder dry, right, as a nation?
Aren't we more pragmatic now? We still
are. So now we are more pragmatic, but are we pragmatic enough? We only see today, even China. Even today, we are only seeing China.
After seeing Doklam, after seeing 2611, haven't we got, because of these bloody noses that we got, or say, wrong terminology, or a bloody nose several times over after Kargil, after 2611, after the Kashmir problem, after Doklam, after all this, haven't we become trust but verify, or verify, whatever you want to go, whichever
So one is the visualization of the battlefield, okay, which I feel that we lack. Now, let me come on to this, this trust part of it. Mature nations always look at capabilities. Intentions can always change, okay? I remember about 20, 30 years back, we bought some sort of aircraft which could reach up to Australia. 30 years back, we only used to be playing cricket, and immediately people, Australia, objected. So our immediate newspaper said, we only have that intention of playing cricket with Australia. We are not even looking at Australia. We have no aims to, threaten Australia, which is true. But
combat aircraft you're talking about.
Yeah, but what is a mature professional reaction?
What did we buy 30 years ago? Mirage and
maybe I think
MiGs. That's all we had.
So it might be 20 years. I just remember reading that.
35 years was
Illusion heavy transport.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't even think of
whatever
no, heavy transport is not for
whatever it is.
long distance.
If you acquire a capability, a professional soldier looks at that's a capability.
Okay.
We have to plan for that. We in third world nations, we look at this leader and that leader. We are friends. We will think about it this way. Okay. At the height of our bonhomie with Trump, okay, at one point our Prime Minister and Trump were so this that Trump came over here. In that height of bonhomie, what did he say here in India? He said Pakistan is a strategic ally. In spite of the fact that Trump had almost sanctioned them, everything, that just before Afghanistan withdrawal, their relationship was not so good with Pakistan. Why do they say that? What are their motives for saying this?
If I was to just be contrarian, Obama, when he came to India, he gave a little comment on humanitarian situation and
A little
India
slap on
not
the
being
wrist.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the defense cooperation between India and America was so robust at that time that it's never been before or after. He set the grounds for it.
The defense cooperation is a capability which is the Americans are building. It's a capability where we become dependent on them.
So, but this pragmatism
isn't it true?
this pragmatism that she's talking about, is it that India has now made an active choice that the access to these technologies, whatever trickle we get access, outweighs the potential disruption by these technologies, these Western backed technologies that are now have safe harbor in this country?
Okay, so let's take a larger look at this, our grand strategy. Okay, I at one particular point of time I picked up when people told me that we are aligning with the US so that we also economically rise up
Yes.
like a South Korea or a Japan. Okay, these are nations in Asia which have benefited with their particular partnership with the US. For me, immediately I felt it was strange because our circumstances are different. We are such a huge nation. Japan, South Korea, look at their population size. If they are going to rise, it's not going to upset the global, order. We as a nation, like at that time, okay, 2014, yeah. At that time, when I still remember, the per capita was around $44,000 for Japan, 22,000 for South Korea. And China was around 10,000. So I immediately told, how is this possible? If you become 50% of South Korea, we are $11,000. That means we'll be a larger economy than China and the US per, PPP wise. So we are going to upset the global order. Why do you think today we are talking strategic autonomy? Although it is not aligned, there is a subtle difference. But why do we are too large? We are too large for anyone else to. We can't be with any other nation where if they make you rise economically under one political setup, you will upset the whole global order. We are the largest nation today. And look at our centrality of where we are situated.
Already, I think we are the largest internet consumers, are we?
Second.
No, second largest.
Second.
China still
China
remains
is
the
right
largest.
number.
Largest.
Yeah.
So now let's get down to data piracy, privacy with 700 million, I think is the last count that we have
Yeah,
in our
slightly
country.
maybe
or
more,
Maybe
but
more.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Even at the time of filing this, probably we'll increase a million more using internet. Let's get on to data privacy. Are Indians aware of it? Like general public is, like we discussed in the last episode. हमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है? सुनने दो, देखने दो. What am I doing? I'm only discussing my,
So privacy is a very subtle concept. It is not easily grasped. You have to educate people into the importance of privacy where it becomes a cultural habit. That's what the West has achieved. Okay? You have to invest into it. No one else is going to come and teach us privacy.
Yeah.
Now, we are, when I look at the challenges, maybe because I have a feeling that Ishan is beginning to understand, China and we almost entered this ICT
Yes.
at the same time.
Same time, yeah.
We were ahead of China at one point of time, very far ahead of China in the ICT sphere, although they concentrated on manufacturing.
And all the engineers went from Bangalore to set it
Yeah,
up.
even today, I think a lot of Chinese, engineers are Indians working, China, their big companies have got development centers in India. A lot of
All
Indians.
the research AI papers are authored by so many Indian names. It's sad to see that.
So their products are built by Indians.
Yes.
Their products
so,
are.
So this is the data we had.
These
These are the 751 million, the last count. And almost double, more than double from Americans. And they own the internet.
Population size, no? Our population size is much bigger, right?
So
Today we are the largest, but China is ahead because they are more industrialized, more connectivity, but we'll slowly become larger than China too.
yeah.
But how did China, shoot ahead of us?
There was a political
plan.
will.
There was a plan.
Yes.
Firstly, their OI, that military officer went and
Political
told.
will, yeah, absolutely.
They told that if it's like entering the battlefield without your own soldiers. We have entered the battlefield and all our soldiers are from other nations, including China, which we have now mobilized our army and there might be a war. Let's hope it doesn't happen. But your army is OI and ICT.
But the security establishment and the tech establishment in China, they work together. They are in tandem. In India?
These are, for me, these are fundamental questions which expose the sort of nation we are.
Yeah.
How can it be different? How can you keep the military separate? from the rest of the nation. It is not that when war happens, the military will come to save you. Those are all okay. At one point of time, maybe that sort of thing could have happened. The military is part of a nation.
Yeah, so Agniveer was envisaged with that goal in mind. I mean, of course, we're going into a different realm, but what I mean to say is, like China did it, like the Five Eyes do it, isn't it? Aren't we already late in getting into that sphere?
We are, without doubt. When we have got a declared policy for becoming 100% digital, nation. Our nation, people do not know the importance of privacy. The fastest burgeoning industry in India today is cybercrimes.
Yeah.
The true number, no one knows. No one wants to talk about this. Okay? There's no privacy. The data protection law is still not being activated, whether it's a robust law, whether there is, look at other nations. They have already agreed there is a sovereignty in that particular domain.
Yes. And our data privacy laws are flouted routinely.
We have no law. It has been drafted, but it has not been promulgated because some law, from rules are supposed to still come.
What happened with Ranveer Alabadia's
that was a hack. See,
it was a hack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so protection is something that none of us in India
I found it very curious, when this Ranveer's thing got hacked, overnight for me, it is his business which is gone.
Yeah.
Every day he must be getting clicks, money.
Yeah.
So even if he is missed out so didn't he realize that if the thing is not under your control, there is no protection.
But YouTube is not under your control.
So
what do we do?
So this is the thing. You are a citizen of a particular nation. You pay taxes so that the nation protects you. But the nation today, someone else. Finally, after it has been restored, what has Ranveer said? I'm grateful to Google.
Yeah.
So then what's going to happen? You're not grateful to India. So where is your allegiance going to be? What are nations for?
No, even when we are doing
absolutely.
it, we have no help or no interest which has been given to us from the country. When I mean country, I mean the establishment in the country telling us that, okay, what was your issue? We are fighting on our own when our stuff is getting pilfered, when we are seeing that our stuff is being used by internet giants.
So remember, how did East India Company take over India? It was purely for the people. They were more beneficial for business. The Battle of Plassey was bankrolled by a businessman.
And the rulers were writing poetry. I'm sorry. That's the truth, right? It's not as if Nero was only there.
So I'm not saying that today we are writing poetry, but we are at the same place, right?
Right.
What did we learn?
So now, going back again, Snowden in his revelations talked about these big Western internet giants that were infiltrated. Now, here is I'm using infiltrated in single quotations, that were infiltrated by NSA sort of programs over there to extract data, Americans' data, foreign data, whatever. How naive do you think everyone is to think that these big Western internet giants didn't know what was happening? Do you think they knew what was happening and turned their face for them to continue their operations, or were they genuinely their systems were hacked?
So, Ishan, I take it that you're playing the role of a journalist and you know what actually has happened. 2013 is when Snowden came out with the revelations. Okay, It's very clear that the tech industry was in bed with the intelligence agencies. What was Snowden's whole problem? His problem was that the deep state, the intelligence agencies were lying to Congress.
Yes.
So that is where he rebelled. If you look at how he is brought it out, he says, there I am working. I believe in democracy. I believe in the rule of law. I realize that we are lying to our own representatives of the people. Then what sort of nation are we? Is what was his fundamental question and the reason why he decided to become a whistleblower.
Yes.
In that same Snowden Revelations, one slide showed that we were the third most surveilled nation by the Americans. The first two were Iran and Pakistan. Third was India. So it's not that people didn't know. And all those companies which were backdooring, firstly, they were all getting paid by the deep state for that backdoor and for that access of data.
Yes.
And if you look at the origins of the internet, all these companies were created by the deep state of the US.
Why was India being surveilled so much? What do you think? Because of our size?
For me, one of the things is shouldn't it have been Russians and Chinese which should have been more surveilled by
Correct.
the US?
Yes.
That question, my first this was, why are they not? Then I realized it's because it might not have been that easy for them to surveil China and Russia because they must have already taken precautions for the same.
Yeah.
For us, at least the military, we said that, we are air gapped. But the Snowden Revelations itself showed pictures that they have got implants to violate the air gap. Software also implants. So for me, this explosions happening is a logical progression of the Snowden Revelations.
So this is India, and these are the choke points.
Yes.
Your essential. This is also roughly the way internet submarine cables also sort of function. Roughly, I'm saying. They follow shipping lanes as well, right? And it is not necessary that just because there's a direct route, the internet will travel there, it will go to the cheapest route possible. If you look at the Indian sort of lines, the choke points, and the data line cables over here, it's an open. I don't know if we had robust measures in place to prevent those submarine cables from being jeopardized. Not to mention that the GCHQ, which is a partner of the NSA, which was part of these revelations, was also running operations over here, which were not just submarine cables. They had internet coding, X keystroke, that was also functional. And it was industrial level vacuuming of data that was going through these cables that was penetrated. So you're saying China and Russia probably knew this and had in place firewalls, safeguards, redundancies. But our backdoor was wide open.
So, to be very, as a student, when I studied that, it is not that the Chinese and the Russians knew it. They did not. Very clear in the literature, the Chinese did not. Know that when the Snowden came, even they were caught by surprise. But they as a nation was wary of the West because of the history of China, which we should also be. It's not I'm against the West, but as a former military officer, intelligence officer, a student of security, we need to be wary. We are the people who created the, Arthashastra, right? That's a treatise on that you can't trust anyone when you're running a nation. But we were not. So now since you've shown this out here, this is such an interesting, slide. The world is not what you and, the normal man on the street believes it to be. The world is, controlled by something called the world order.
Yeah.
So this is a thing of controlling the choke points, So in the 19th and 20th century, it was the navies of the globe.
Yes.
A naval power could control the globe. That at that time was Great Britain. And if you look at that particular, choke points, that particular slide over there, you will see the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Malacca. So Strait of Hormuz is around 17 million barrels a day
of oil.
Yeah, in 2014. That particular one was 2014.
It's gone up now. Yeah.
And Strait of Malacca was 15.2 per day. Approximately the global shipping is like this. The way it has been shown. And there right in the middle is India. Now if you see India, that is the reason why we were the jewel in the British crown. Burma, Pakistan, India were all one. That's a fulcrum of global trade, historically, even today. That is why we are so important. And if you are the largest nation by population, and there are other global powers, US is the current hegemon, China is an aspirant. When they look at India, they'll say, this nation can upset the whole thing. So if you look at China, the defense of the US was against China was foresown by 100 years. There's a famous Admiral Thayer Mahan who said 100 years back that China, when industrialization comes over there, is going to be a power which will threaten our nation. So he planned for the defense of the US by creating the first island chain, the second island chain, all the strategisms of 100 years before. Nations like that, including China, they are always thinking 1-2 centuries ahead. We are thinking election cycles. That is where the issue is.
Yeah, comes back to that point that if we had the chip technology and in the 80s that you're saying that's where we started, one factory gets burnt down and we shelve the entire thing.
And Colonel Saab, this is what is so interesting. Micron Technologies that's announced this massive infrastructure project in India, etc., fabricating chips. They've been sanctioned by China. Last year they were sanctioned. So Micron saw the next potential sort of market being either Japan or India. So these companies know that, going by that map, India is the sort of bulwark against a hegemonic China.
So that is their narrative. Okay. So there is China, the economy wise today. So what would a hegemonic nation want when you have two such large nations?
Freedom of movement of cargo.
No. When you know that today, what is the whole problem? The US feels threatened by the rise of China. Correct? China is economically there. Militarily, they are still not there. It will take them some more, maybe a couple of more decades before they catch up, maybe slightly more, as per the literature which is coming. Although science and technology wise, they have just leapfrogged and they have become the largest, But as of date, they are not militarily there to take on the US. So historically, I did mention about the Thucydides
yes.
trap last time.
Yes.
What does a hegemon does when another nation tries to challenge it? There will always be war. Now, that war can be a direct war or it can be indirect war. It is better not to fight directly and get them to fight someone else to fight that battle. Correct?
Yes.
So that is where you are.
That's what China has done all along.
No.
Which America has also done all along.
They put boots on the ground.
Look at Ukraine.
In this particular, America is a hegemon. China is a challenger. We are the pawn. We are a willing pawn saying, okay, you allow us to rise, we will side with you, but we still have to be neutral because we don't want to get into the fight, right? Why do we have to fight
China?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why we have never been part of any military alliance.
But my fundamental this is, India's rise is a world's necessity because otherwise China is going to be too big. Okay. And the West also in their literature said that we need to keep India with us. But when they keep India with us, I have also posited in that paper of mine that what is our actual weakness is our varied population. We are when you look at the number of languages, the ethnicities, the religion, we got so many divides. So there is a question of social cohesion. So if our entire data lies with other nations, that data is enough to ensure that our social cohesion can be played by those nations.
Didn't Europe also have that? Not as a nation, but as a entity, Europe also had.
This is where context comes. Okay. What is Europe? Europe, firstly, is not a size of India. They're small different countries. Yeah. Okay. They are all, Western Europe are all security partners of the US. They've got a different history. They've got a different dimension. Why are they Five Eyes? Because it's basically an Anglo-Saxon alliance.
Yes.
I would also like to be the sixth eye, but unfortunately I'm brown. I can't be a Five Eye.
They and Five Eyes have got... let's not even go there.
Now that we're talking about this, a little bit of a controversial take on this, Colonel Saab, and I think I'm wrong over here, but I'd like you to expound on this. So now we made a case where Indian data is not completely secure. And the fact that we have given what we believe are Western alliance partners, we give them some sort of access by allowing their companies to come and do business in this country without any technical guardrails in place, it's not secure. Now, positing with just that level, what stops us from having some sort of limited engagement with the Chinese?
So we can't. China are our neighbors. Okay, they will always be there. You can't wish away China. They are the largest manufacturing power in the world. We have got historical relations with them. A lot of our culture is intermingled. Okay, we were a nation which has spawned some civilization, which has spawned some major religions, and a good part of China is influenced. Tibet and many other parts of China is influenced with that. Historically, we've had a good relationship with China, but we never had a border. Okay, because Tibet was never part of China. Now you have made the first mistake by allowing Tibet to be part of China. Right? Now you got that border. So we need to engage with them. We need to partner with them, but we can never trust them. Now the nervous system, this ICT is like the nervous system of a nation. Okay? How can you allow our nervous system to be owned by someone else? Smaller nations don't have this challenge because smaller nations survive they don't challenge the global order. They can rise up, economically by, allying with other nations. They can be under a security umbrella of another nation. Fine. We Cannot, because those other nations will never allow us to rise as one entity. That's our aim, right? Our population needs to benefit. The citizenry needs to benefit out of that alliance. They won't allow us to rise beyond a certain point. Before that, they will split you. Bangladesh is a clear pointer in that direction. It's very clear that we are caught napping. And it was, it's very clear that our security establishment is now today looking and saying, why did our strategic partner shaft us over there? That strategic partner's interests are different from yours. They are a hegemonic nation. They will not allow. That map has been carefully created by the British. Yeah. And the Americans are inheritor nations, they say to that British Empire. That map they will not allow you to touch. That is precisely the reason why Trump came and said that Pakistan is a strategic partner. They created Pakistan for a purpose. East Bangladesh or East Pakistan was created for a purpose. That is what is going to, ensure that you don't have access to the East. If you look at the North, Pakistan, is already hamstringing you.
There's already a Burma there.
So the Burma is under boil, right? Burma is under...
And hence they need
So
Bangladesh.
Think about it this way. Malacca Strait, everyone knows, is a strategic choke point. But it's not a choke point meant only for China. It is a choke point for the whole globe by the hegemon. For us also, it's a choke point. So by building a logistics hub through Bangladesh, getting into Burma and connecting directly to the Southeast Asia.
St. Michael's Island.
No, I'm just positing
okay,
again. Supposing, what was our plan?
Okay.
That with Bangladesh over there and Sheikh Hasina over there, we wanted to create a logistics, which will benefit Bangladesh and our Northeast. And then what was our further aim? That we'll build it through Burma and reach into Thailand, etc. Right?
Yeah, that Act East.
It is for the West or the Americans. It is like the BRI. You're going to bypass their choke point. Their choke point is...
You're into Kunming Strait.
Yeah.
Direct. There's a straight line.
So the point is, that might be the reason we don't... Today, I have heard interviews where people asking that, why did Americans do that?
But isn't that interesting? You're saying that the Americans did this, but it's benefiting China.
Shall let's go to the Silk Road?
No, just the Bangladesh.
So, see, they are the hegemon.
Right.
Okay. A hegemonic nation, and they've got a plan. They already have a platform, which is the global order, the US dollar. They're controlling the choke points. They are the biggest naval power. You challenge that particular thing, for them the immediate aim is that challenge should go away. China will see later. You are only seeing because, Pakistan has got... China doesn't have that sort of hold in Bangladesh. It is Pakistan who's got the penetration using the, Jamaat-e-Islami. They have got that Islamist movement over there. China, in comparison to India, will benefit. But the government out there is, as on date, it's very clear that
US puppet.
Yeah. So you think about it in this particular way.
Can I ask you about when you talk about data and data transfers, payments comes in a big way. In our lifetime, do you see the US dollar, the SWIFT payments being replaced by some other currency?
Okay, so this is a hot topic as on date. When I came in, I said that they've got a historical, debt now of 34 plus or $35 trillion. Okay, every month that debt mounts.
They'll print more.
Okay, so
that's what they've been doing, right?
Yes. But finally, what happens is there is a limit to what you can print. So there is I did mention about that, book by Ray Dalio, The Changing World Order. He has traced the last 500 years of globalization. Initially was the Dutch, the Spanish, Dutch, then the English, and today the US. So he has analyzed, at what time does the war start? When that particular order is going to change is when the war starts. It's following absolutely as per that plan. Okay, and at a particular level of debt, it has to change.
Why? To divert attention?
Not that. So divert attention is only one part of it.
Yeah.
That currency, they have... What is this debt all about? Someone has to pay the debt, right? They have issued all that 34 trillion or 35 trillion. They've issued all those treasury bonds.
Owned by China predominantly, right?
The largest is China, Japan. We also
yeah, we are also exposed to it.
The whole globe is exposed to it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow he can't pay the debt. Because mathematically not possible to pay the debt.
That if everybody wants to encash at the same time.
No, you see, he has said, okay, 30-year bonds, 20-year bonds. So that will mature,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah.
finally have to pay.
Yeah.
So you can't print to that level, then there is inflation. His own, if he is able to print that sort of dollars, why is he not able to build up his own infrastructure? Why? There is a limit to that, what he can do.
So are you saying this war is related to this in some manner?
Of course, the Ukraine war is undoubtedly, the Middle East war is undoubtedly, and if other tensions break out globally, is all linked to this
The dollar?
the changing global order. During times of, when the thing is going to change, read Ray Dalio.
Okay.
Okay. Last time it happened was when the British pound was going bust. Haven't you read that, the English basically went out for two reasons? Firstly, they realized that the Indian army officer cadre the Indian officers had started acquiring a political, and their debt did not allow them to control it anymore. That is why they exited. We have created that,
But what you were saying that debt is leading them for war, not exiting. The Ukraine war they have entered. The Israel-Iran war they have entered.
And my further question, you're saying that because of all these wars, ensuring that the SWIFT payments continue, doing whatever they have to, is to finance that debt?
No. Okay, so actually you are
blasting.
putting me in such a wide canvas, from data you have jumped into, okay, I'll try and tackle
Because
it.
that is also data, right? That is also data.
So,
if I make
no,
a payment,
both-
I make a foreign payment,
So-
it goes through an intermediary American bank and it converts to USD.
Now we go to SWIFT.
Hold on. She is talking about a different thing, you're talking about a different thing.
All
so
merged.
One by one.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It's
by
all
the way,
connected,
it's all
yeah.
connected.
It's all pecking order. I'm going to get my answer first.
Hierarchy wins. So, yeah.
First is SWIFT. What is SWIFT?
See what I knew he'd come to SWIFT.
Yeah. What is SWIFT? SWIFT is a messaging system where the global transactions, the American policy is to ensure that all nations transact using SWIFT because it is US dollar, they can control that. Okay. Now, strategically, what have they done? They have said SWIFT is not under them, it is under some European country. That's how they have kept it. They have located it over
Vaguely
there.
kept it,
Yeah, vaguely kept it. But they control SWIFT. They have access to SWIFT. And seeing that particular SWIFT transactions, they can see the whole globe. The economic activity of the whole globe, which gives them a competitive advantage. No? When money is moved, they come to know. Information is power. When money is moved, who is moving what money to where is
The fingerprints are there.
huge
Yes,
power.
yes.
Okay, so that is SWIFT. 2014, we started off something called SWIFT India. Okay, we created a SWIFT India run by all our banks. Okay, so Americans started getting increased insight into our banking system. Okay. People like me looked at it and said, wow, why are we allowing others increased look into our economic activity? Can't that be a danger? If you come to know exactly how we are spending our money, what's your industry, mapping them out, etc., there is a danger.
Yeah.
Now, just 2 days back, I saw an article. Our traders are today afraid that the GST data will be sold to their immediate neighbors. They say that GST data, there is already a racket which is going on. People are ready to sell my GST data to my, business opponent. And they are up in arms.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But what we have not realized is, see, the human cognition. We understand immediate things and our neighbor.
Putin has learned that because
so-
SWIFT he can't use. So now there's talk of BRICS coming up with an alternative.
So for me, 2014, I knew we are creating another choke point which can be controlled.
Can't be controlled.
Which someone else will control.
Someone else.
Yeah,
See, the world is run on militarily controlling choke points. Okay, the naval might I showed you. Okay, choke points. They've got the best navy. Okay, if you don't listen to them, they control the global commons. They'll come and blockade you.
Yeah.
Okay, the US Treasury will
That's what started the world wars.
Suez.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, SWIFT. They kicked out Russia from SWIFT.
Yeah.
So Russians had to create alternatives. Today, BRICS is talking about an alternative currency which is supposed to come.
Yeah.
End of this month, I think 23rd that's the time when they're going to take a call on. There are a lot of rumors in this. They're going to do something. And if they do something which is a gold-backed currency, if they launch, then the world might say, instead of going to a paper currency, fiat, which is already under so much debt, let us start transacting in this. So that is the reason this whole war is
Did Muammar Gaddafi also think of one unified African currency? And I think he's been put on hold after some time.
So he did not listen to my lecture.
Yeah.
You are, without realizing, you are challenging the US.
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein the same. He exited, the US dollar and started selling his oil in, euros. At that time, no one knew. There is no literature which used to say that he's challenging the global order, because the global order is built on everyone will transact only through US dollar. Using that, Americans will print, and with that they will maintain a military which will, and this is what it is.
So if BRICS comes up with an alternative system, what happens with us?
So there you are. We are part of the global south. What is the global south? The present system, we are not beneficiaries. Okay?
Yeah.
So to give you context, it's like a caste system. The upper castes say, oh, the caste system is okay. They're beneficiaries of the caste system. The lower caste ones, they will never say, let's uphold the caste system, because they have not been historically beneficiaries. So today, India, for the last 2-3 years, we have started saying we are for the rules-based order. So people like me have questioned, what is this rules-based order? The rules-based order is not an international order. It is not UN mandated this. It's not international this. Basically, what is a rules-based order? That what we say is the rule.
So if we are at the table, it's okay, right?
Are we at the table?
If we are at the table, I'm saying.
Can we be?
So if we are in BRICS.
So there it comes. What have I now posited? Can a nation the size of India with our population
Not be at the table.
No. What is the table all about? See, here the table is we are there. If you are allowed to rise economically, what will happen? Under one political power, we will have an economy. We can create a independent military which can threaten the global order, right? So what I have posited, other powers will all never allow us to rise. Second, if you start allowing us to rise, they will create internal disturbance. They will try to, divide us. Okay? That is how the globe works, sadly. Okay? So if that is not going to happen, how can you be at the table? You would like to be at the table, but has that table, last 10 years we have tried?
Yeah.
But in spite of that, what has happened in Bangladesh? Now, you look at your own foreign minister. What has he said about Asian NATO? He said, we have got a different history, we have got a different this, we are not for Asian NATO. Why?
Yeah, that Japan had suggested it.
Yes. Why can't Japan can be part of Asian NATO? Smaller nations can be. They will be beneficiaries. Can we be? So likewise for the ICT. That's the strategic domain of the 21st century, of the information age. The oceans are also strategic, but this is much more strategic. I thought I made it clear in my last that, okay, just the global, trade is around 34 trillion. Daily transaction for SWIFT is 5 trillion daily. Okay, just look at the, which is the heft.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is, and now that is only one part of it. Now your entire critical infrastructure, your agriculture, banking, logistics, power, everything is controlled by ICT.
Yeah.
So think about it.
Col Sahab, we haven't talked that question of mine about did America enter these wars to distract? That question
Distract
stays.
with its massive debt.
Okay, so Ray Dalio in his book has brilliantly captured the rise of different currencies in the previous global orders. Last 5 centuries or something he's mapped out. Okay, and he has said that whenever the debt rises to a certain position and the order changes, there is increase in wars globally. Okay, what happens? Why does the debt rise? Any hegemon, to control that, they say the US has got about 600 to 800 bases all over the world, right? They have got that military deployed out there. The navy is flowing, all that is there. Costs humongous amount of money. That's the largest budget. Okay, and they have no security threat. No one is, threatening them. So this military is not for guarding the US, but is to enforce US runs throughout the world. Correct?
Okay.
And that is their biggest per month expenditure.
Huh.
So that debt is basically for servicing the US economy. What is Trump and his people saying? Republicans who are backing Trump? We are not beneficiaries of this. So let us get out. Let us withdraw back. If this we don't care. We are struggling out here. We have no money to build our own infrastructure, jobs for our people. We have outsourced everything. Correct? Let's build it back. That is Trump. What are the Democrats saying? No, let's continue with this. This is the whole fight all about.
The military-industrial complex, every president tries to push back against, but fails.
Yes.
Even Putin had said that. Putin had said that, these new presidents come with great ideas, and then men in black suits come and tell you your ideas are good.
The deep state.
Take a step back.
So when you are a hegemon, there is a industry, military is, when the US dollar, you are a hegemon, and you have actually, what was the Bretton Woods agreement all about? That you will only print dollars based on your,
Gold backing, yeah.
So 74, they exited the gold backing, which was the default actually. They started printing.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, and for that, once you print that, what is it for? For upholding the military. And it is very clear, if you take the top 10 budgets of the globe, militaries, the rest 10, the majority of the people are their allies. Okay. China, India, Russia now, yes, there, but they've got no challenge.
There's no comparison to the American military spend.
So theirs is a force projection military to enforce their writ. Indian military is purely defensive. Territorial this. Correct? And we are even there scrounging. The military, you will see, constantly keep saying that budgets are not enough, the weapon systems are not enough.
Well, American military also has a dual purpose where we also see that they're the first movers with exotic technologies as well. So the latest cutting edge technology, somehow we see that it's seeded from US military. I guess the budgets are so high.
So they are, that's how they dominate. Technological dominance, financial dominance. Okay. But what is now upsetting them is China. China is broken.
Is replicating it.
Yes, they have still not got the reserve currency, but being a manufacturing power, they have started threatening American power. They, under one entity, has become risen to an economic power where they're able to put that sort of research grants into this, and they're out-innovating the West. They've still not, upset the military order.
Yes.
Okay, but they will eventually reach. The whole fight is about preventing that.
And so this Ukraine war.
Should we just on Ukraine,
because I'm just leapfrogging.
There's one on the explosion part which he had said, Snowden, and linking the explosions. Or you wanted to go Ukraine first?
My thing was that Ukraine was a staging ground into what the future of wars and the way cyber technology has been used in a disruptive way. I think it's the first war where you see drones, where you see disruption of information systems, etc. And it's a sort of window into what future wars will look like. Now, going with that, you've said China is also now pretty much matching, sometimes leapfrogging America when it comes to, say, artificial intelligence patents and stuff like that. In terms of artificial intelligence, because this is a catch-all word now, how prepared are we in India? Or have we missed the wave and now we are trying to surf the wave?
Okay, so AI. Everyone knows AI is on data flows. What sort of data flows? What is AI? I try to give you a rough idea. Why are you intelligent? Because you've got 5 senses.
Yes.
And those senses are feeding data into your brain.
Yes. I've learned it over my course of my life as well.
Life.
Yes.
Okay. That data has slowly given you wisdom. Okay.
Yes.
You will rise in wisdom, but then finally we die.
Yes.
Now, what is an AI? You've got hundreds and millions of IoT devices, Internet of Things, feeding data directly to algos. Right?
Yeah.
That's how that AI is going to create. So do we have hundreds of IoT devices in India? Are we a manufacturing power? Are we supplying to the whole globe? For example, smartphones. Who controls the smartphones of the globe?
America.
And China also.
China also, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm going with the operating software, Android.
Yes. So
Apple.
So there you are. Okay. But then the OEM has also got a layer.
Of course.
So the OEM also gets a chance to take the data. But definitely the operating system is the key. Okay. The American system has been, I outsource your manufacturing, but the operating system allow it to be mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he gets the data.
Yes.
So millions of phones. What sort of AI will that be?
American AI.
Okay. Now Huawei, they sanctioned.
Yes.
Okay. Huawei is now building their OS. They built it. Okay. They got something called Honor OS. That is, and they have again risen up to be the biggest phone manufacturer in China itself. Okay, and they are saying that we will now exit all our Chinese phones will now be, they will create a different this. That is where and then IoT devices. What are today we are using pared down versions of Android, right, or something else. Where is the data? Who are the people who are creating this? Then the second place where the data is, one is operating systems, social media, networking devices. We are not there. So how can we be a power? Unless your appliances are there and everyone is carrying those appliances and data is coming back, you can never be a power.
So we'll be basically users of this technology. We will not be the input.
So no.
Generation.
What did Bill Gates tell you when he came here? He says you should use Microsoft and Google products and build on top of it. Like exactly the OSI model. We will control the layers.
The foundation will remain Microsoft.
Then who will control? So that is a colonial model, right? They will always control.
This thing that happened with OpenAI, they, even within their own country, they are moving from one place to the other because they don't want data disclosures to happen in one state as compared to the other state. They're trying to control in this.
So there is a movement to break big tech because they become too big, where they've started affecting the local politics of their parent nation.
Yeah.
Okay. So finally, everything is under a nation, and the local population now have realized, okay, if we allow these guys to control that, our own interests are getting affected. That is how all monopolies have finally been broken, right? And if you don't allow that to happen, what will happen? Bastille, revolution, one day. That is why democracy it gives a chance for people to change without bloodshed, right?
Now this is the curious part. So the OpenAI that ma'am's talked about. Now this is like the cutting edge sort of AI company that's out there. I pause.
$157 billion is the valuation.
I pause. I'll tell you why. They expanded their board of directors, and in that board of directors, they included a retired NSA official. Why would an why would an AI company need a former intelligence operative there? Maybe it's maybe it wasn't thought about.
I think it was a 4-star general, right?
Probably, yes.
So he definitely is not a coder.
No, definitely not a coder.
So why would you put a very powerful retired general on your board? Think about it. Here, if you want to do it, why will you do it?
Well,
for the
information.
For the contacts he has, correct?
Yes.
So who's going to be the client? So you got your own answer.
Yeah.
Okay. All technology is primarily military initially. It might also have a civilian use case. Okay. That is how the globe is.
In every country? In our country too?
We have, how many pioneering technologies have we created in this modern era?
Okay. We're doing the chip one right now.
But is it pioneering? We are trying. Is it a cutting edge pioneering technology thing which is going to change the whole mankind?
Okay.
We have not created anything like that. We at one point of time, we had the Damascus sword, that used to be, that Damascus steel used to be made in Tamil Nadu. That was the best steel available in the globe. When people say that we were the world leaders in textiles at one point of time. At that time, we were ahead. China, they had porcelain. They had gunpowder. So many things they were ahead. Now they're again coming back. We are still lagging.
And just based on that, I want to bring up this slide over here on the cyber power rankings, where India stands. All the way right at the bottom. Lower capability, low intent. Can you explain this, please?
Okay, so this Belfer index, okay? There is a Kennedy Belfer Center under Harvard University.
Yeah.
They have, I think 2020 was the first time they brought out the cyber power index. Till the time people used to say, oh, India is a superpower. Now for the first time they said, okay, let us, bring out a particular data-driven this of who are the global powers in. So there are two particular places. One is cyber capacity and intent. Okay. So the vertical one is intent, and the horizontal one is capacity.
Sorry, if anyone's listening to this in an audio device, Spotify or something, I would urge you to please go on YouTube and watch this podcast, because it's important to visualize what Colonel Saab is talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
So in that 2020, that is where India is. Okay. low on capacity and low on intent. Now, if you look at the United States, that is the highest on capacity. China is put us slightly higher on intent.
Why is intent important?
They want to become, no?
Oh.
They are pursuing their R&D. They're creating this. They're creating laws. They're creating manufacturing. Their procurement is such that it is very clear that visible that they are going to.
But intent can also be military kinetic force also. Right?
No, this is only about cyber, right?
But cyber using cyber as a tool.
See, this is not a military capability. It's a national capability.
But then why would they have Iran over there?
So Iran also. See, they have just taken the first 30 nations. So Iran is there. They are higher than us, right?
But yes, they're higher than us in terms of the intent.
Yes.
Not capability.
So I can't at this distance see. Where is Iran? Can you just
Iran is right above us in this yellow right here. And it shows that the
lower
intent,
capability,
but
intent.
higher
lower capability, high intent.
higher.
I would only assume intent over here would means something which is to damage someone.
No. So, okay, there are different parameters here, okay? From trying to have offensive capabilities to having your own products. Okay, just think about it this way. Since you are younger, I take it that you will know that in cyberspace there is something like vulnerability, backdoor, etc.
Yes.
So if there is always a possibility a vulnerability can happen.
Of course.
So just to make it understandable to a slightly older supposing you've got a fort, a conventional fort, and there is a army which is sieging that fort. Okay. Now you got your own army which is protecting the fort, and you also got
moat.
There is a moat. There are so many other things, and even if they try to fire cannons and breach that, you also got a building material where you'll try and protect it and again bridge the breach. So a vulnerability is in the cyberspace. The whole world is trying to crack your particular software and hardware. So they find a breach. Your ability to mend that breach. Okay. So take our critical information infrastructure. If Huawei is sitting on our core, infra, if there is a vulnerability in Huawei, who can bridge that gap? Only Huawei. Okay? You can't do it. You're only using the graphic user interface to control that net. But like I said, there can be a kill switch. They can maybe even switch it off. But the OEM is king here. That is why, that particular gentleman went and told, if you enter the information age without companies like Huawei, you will be entering the battlefield without your own soldiers. So that is a soldier, an appliance. Huawei. India, we have never backed up our companies. Last 10 years, we have been trying. Finally, in BSNL, it's whatever I am saying is openly there. Our own ministers had to tell the BSNL employees that if you had any previous allegiances, because they are so used to working with Huawei in a city. So this is a medium where people have a comfort zone. They work with a particular system. You have created been working on Windows. You are so comfortable with Windows, PowerPoint, Word, the Word document, etc. Second, you say tomorrow start using, Linux. It is not so convenient. It is not because we are people of habits. That's what is happening over there. Okay, people say people, process, and all that. So you used to that one particular process. To learn a new process, there is resistance. Firstly, we should have foreseen. We did not foresee. After seeing the dangers, we should have immediately changed path. We have not. So that is why we are there. Low on capability, low on intent. There is one more, they have published one more, every 2 years they take out. 2022, we stay where we are. So 2020, we are low on intent and low on capability. We have more or less stayed here in spite of Atmanirbhar being proclaimed. Just next to us is Vietnam. Okay, can you just put your finger on where Vietnam is? Yeah, It'll be somewhere there, next to us. It'll be somewhere in the same square.
One.
Yeah, it's right above us.
Yeah, Vietnam.
There.
Slightly better.
Slightly better.
Better capability and better intent
as well.
Yeah.
And that's where you see the supply chain moving to Vietnam.
If you see 2024, they have come to the next quadrant.
Oh, okay.
They've shifted.
Higher capability and lower intent.
Yes. So this is...
So they're a friendly nation, but technically more superior.
It doesn't take long to move from the quadrant?
It took 4 years for them.
2 years. You can move. You see, we have got so many companies.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not giving them a chance.
Yeah.
But, no, okay. So, okay. lot to unpack here. You're saying that we have missed the boat, so to say.
We have not missed the boat. If
When
we
it
have
comes
if we have missed the boat, I have, there was a former Metis secretary, a friend of mine, just about 4-5 years back. Let me use the same word, miss the boat. As far as chips is concerned, we have missed the boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know, how does an IAS officer become a IT secretary? Okay, I'm just trying to say, they would have been in some other ministry, they would have come there.
Yeah.
And then in the first 2 months, there will be briefing after briefing,
Yes.
showing them this. So if this word has come out of their mouth, I know it is not their word.
No, and I've also had interactions with mighty secretaries in the past, and sorry to say, they are very myopic in their thinking.
So we don't blame. You see, let me put it out there.
Yeah.
It's a journalist, right?
Yeah.
They're coming there. The narrative is supplied to them.
Yeah.
So including missing the boat must have been supplied to them. So that is how.
No. So let me expand on when I say missing the boat. Essentially, encryption, right? Data encryption. We are still dependent on a very basic level. I'm saying now we are dependent on SSLs, basically prime. It's a complex form of mathematics with prime numbers, essentially, right? And SSLs handshake with other SSLs, and that's the encryption over there.
So you are talking about SSLs,
Because in the end,
secure
system,
layer, or
yeah.
socket layer. This is for the web browser.
Web browser, and also for when you send emails and all, there are different levels of encryption.
So most of these are commercial mathematical algorithms,
Right.
Mostly originating from the West, US.
US.
They are the global leaders on this.
And now, just leapfrogging from that, should we be investing more time and energy on more exotic technologies like quantum computing that theoretically can bypass these SSLs in a kinetic form, and in a more sort of benign form, they can also provide better encryption services?
Okay, maybe because you're not from the domain, you have not used the correct jargon.
Okay.
So quantum, they say, is the best possible for encryption as well as to break encryptions.
Right.
Okay, because all encryptions also can be broken.
Yes.
But quantum is something where if it is broken, it can be immediately be detected, because it's a physical, that's how it is. A quantum encryption is supposed to be physical in nature, where the physics itself will not allow it to be broken.
Right.
Okay. So that's why it's considered the ultimate in this. Now, using quantum computers, you are supposed to be able to break conventional encryption very fast.
Yes.
Very fast.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it does the maths faster.
Yeah, but we've still not, those sort of computers have still not been created. But people are investing into quantum computers, saying that
This could be a possibility, theoretical possibility.
it will happen. It will happen eventually, but we've still not reached there. But there is already a movement where people are saying we need to have post-quantum encryption, because people are anticipating. Because what nations do, they store that whole data. Okay? And when the quantum comes, if they break those encryption, then they get the whole data.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you look into Snowden, there's something called NIST standards. NIST is an American, this globe mostly follows NIST standards. They lay out the standards, encryption standards, etc. But influencing the NIST itself to lower standards so that the Americans can crack it. And if you look at the OSI model, encryption is, it depends on the layers down below. So when you have your operating system, your your chips, etc., down below, your networking, everything, layer 7, it's finally owned by people
Correct.
who
So
control.
this is why I'm asking about the quantum computing part, because this actually gives us theoretically, again, I keep saying that word, gives us the possibility of creating a bespoke Indian solution.
People are working on it.
At the atomic level, it is very difficult to right now patent it to an American or a Western standpoint.
So this is R&D which is, as we speak, happening. It is rumored the Chinese are even ahead of the US in quantum.
That's
Okay.
brilliant.
Okay, I know of a brilliant lady in RRI in Bangalore. She is what's her name? Dr. Urbasi Sinha.
RRI is what again?
RRI. Okay, this full forms sometimes I keep forgetting.
What does it do though?
Yeah, Raman Institute. What is it?
Let me just check.
Raman Research Institute.
Okay. C.V. Raman.
Okay, it is named after C.V. Raman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Raman Research Institute.
Okay, so this Dr. Urvashi Sinha is one of our foremost scientists involved in research into quantum. Okay, and one day you should try and get over here. She has been, she's got a award from the president. She got recognized after she got a big grant from Canada. Okay, I wish we could give her grants.
Yes.
Although I think she's part of the quantum mission where it is. But one day, maybe if you can, you should try and get her over
course.
here. She might be the better person who will be able to give you. My idea of this is only from a larger framework. I am not fully aware of, where we are in quantum. But do get her.
Yes.
But we have to get to that point which you mentioned, and let's reverse to that, where you connected the explosions to Snowden.
Nice way to tie it all together.
So till Snowden was about backdooring everything to take out the information. Okay, the NSA has got this that we will collect everything. We want to know everything. And what is their this? If you have nothing to if you are doing no wrong, you have nothing to hide. So those are, I would put it simplistic statements which look attractive. Yeah, that is true. Like I have gone to lectures where if you ask the students, who are the people who have nothing to hide? You'll always find some students are raising their hands.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Because they've been brought up in a way where they said, hey, don't do mischief, don't hide anything. So they raise their hand. But I always tell them, are you very sure you have nothing to hide? Then comes suspicion that, okay, have I created a blunder? So I said, see, people who have nothing to hide, let me tell you, are not human beings, they're gods. Humans have always things to hide. Okay?
Life is an open book. Those sweet comments, my life is an open book. That's all nonsense.
So the thing is, second, even your own baby, I'm sure, as a baby, you must have seen that he would always try to hide certain things, right?
Oh, yeah, there's never trust. Yeah.
No,
It was trust but verify.
no, it is not that. See, everyone has their space.
Sure, yes.
Okay, that's part of our human evolution. Why have we evolved in that particular way? Second they start becoming a baby, and after they'll immediately realize, okay, if I do that, she will react in this way. If I can hide that, she'll do in that particular way. Intelligence. Okay, that's how we are. Now this is mom and kid, where the mom is supposed to be looking after the kid, at that level. Now you think about a village, relations, even a husband and wife. In rural areas, always the wife will always hide some monies, Otherwise, will the husband take away the money and get drunk at that level? Okay, there's always things to hide. People fall in love, people fall out of love, people get attracted to multiple people. Now, you know nothing about the other. The other knows everything about you. Look at the power differential, no?
Yeah.
I know everything about Smita. Right from the time look at her face, no? How
I know,
it changes.
very worrying.
From the time you're born, I know everything about you. You know nothing about me.
Yeah.
That's how people of a particular age will be. Google will know everything about them.
Yes.
The big tech will know everything about them. They will know nothing about big tech. Can you understand the power differential? They'll be mere putty when the AI comes in, right?
Yeah.
So they listen to everything. The phones listen to everything.
A digital
Our
demigod is going to be made. This
Yeah.
is what the race
So
is.
it is
Yeah.
not the phones alone. Yes, the phones are, insidious, but people are going beyond phones. People are going to, look at Neuralink,
Yeah.
where directly from the brain waves, you'll be able to understand. Look at the privacy implications of that, no? Isn't that what, kings have always tried to do? Can I make my subjects think,
Yeah.
control their thought, see into them?
So initially we were told we are hallucinating, that phones are not listening to our conversations. It's only when we click at something. But now this marketing firm which works for the big tech companies, they say that they are listening to phone conversations. And many of us have that experience, that it's not necessary. Sometimes what happens, for example, if I'm talking about how to make a particular type of pulao, Instagram will throw me
Pulao recipes.
right? Which means it's listening to the conversation. It's not as if I have Google searched pulao recipes. If I've Google searched pulao recipes and then YouTube throws me a pulao recipe, or Facebook throws me a pulao recipe, or Insta throws me a pulao recipe, I understand because I had searched it there. But if I'm having a conversation about a pulao recipe and it's throwing me that means it's listening to my conversations.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is your first, handset? What was your first phone?
Nokia?
Ericsson,
No,
I think.
Ericsson.
Ericsson.
Ericsson, what number?
I don't think she would remember. It's RX something.
Okay.
That
so
really heavy. You would kill a person with it. It was that heavy.
So it had
That flip.
physical switches,
Yes,
It had
yes.
buttons.
and
The-
you could take out the battery.
What was it called?
QWERTY, no, it wasn't a
QWERTY.
keyboard.
Huh.
QWERTY was
It was-
different.
so-
This is
so-
buttons.
Yeah, buttons.
Buttons, yeah.
You could the power switch also was there.
Yes.
You could switch it off from a switch.
Yeah.
Could you take out the battery?
Yes.
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 Now you look at the latest phones.
You can't.
Do you firstly have power switches? That is physical switches. It's always a digital switch. It's only a graphical user interface switch, like an
The newer
iPhone.
ones. Yes,
Huh.
you're right.
You have to go in. There is no physical switch. You have to go in and shut it
Tap
down.
it. Yeah.
Tap it. Huh.
Okay. They say it is to trace the phone, which is true. They say that they don't want that
Yeah.
switch because some power needs to be there so the phone can be traced.
Huh.
Okay. Now the point is, all
So when I switch off my iPhone, I'm not switching it off. That means
the power is still there. Can you take out the battery?
no.
So
So if the power is there, that means
It
somebody
can be
is-
turned on.
So what I'm trying to tell you is, it is that whole technology is going into a space where you can't control it. They want to be always on. What did Snowden do when he gave his first interview? He took out the battery, he put the phone into a
Yeah.
refrigerator, freezer, and then gave the interview. Today, that Snowden might not be able to take out the battery. Okay? They want everything always on. Just about 5 years back, the latest, TVs never had a camera or a digital listening. Today, it's interactive. And just about 5-10 years back, everyone used to have the smart TV inside the bedroom. Even today, people will have smart
Yeah.
TV. Can you imagine a smart TV? It's also watching you. It's inside your bedroom. Your smart, phone. People take it into the loo. There have been, there's a very famous case where of a girl sitting on a loo. She allowed a smart, vacuum cleaner to come in, and a smart vacuum cleaner had taken a picture of hers, and it got leaked out into the net.
Oh, geez.
Okay, if you see the movie Snowden, you see clearly they are looking at you every time. It's considered one of the privileges for people looking, because they can get into any device by just a click of a button. Any device they can put it on.
So a smart TV in your bedroom or a smartphone when you go to the loo is not such a great idea.
Of course not. But at one point, people might say, "Oh, what do I have?" Because they are not. It's like the GST guy, If my nude photo comes to my mom or my neighbor, oh shit, it's a privacy. If it goes to the NSA, who's the NSA in the
Yeah.
US? Not such a worry, right? It's only your cognition is worried about the immediate and near.
Oh gosh, no! It is something to worry about.
But at
This
a
is what I
personal
can't
level, but at
understand.
a policy level, in a government level, this is something to worry about.
So I was coming through.
No, even in a personal level, which we have discussed before, that suppose you're 15 and you think your private life doesn't matter. You're drinking, binging,
It
going
comes
for
back to
rave
haunt you
parties.
later. Yeah.
You don't know that at 18 you're going to be applying for scholarship to an American university to study there. At 15 you don't know about what you're going to be at 18. But the university or whatever can have access to that data of when you were 15.
And some AI company has used that data as training data and will come out with an output which will
हाँ, ये
which
दिल
will
की-
monetize later.
ये
So
दिल की
if-
दुख बाहर निकल
So
रही
if
है.
you have compromat on everyone, look at the enormity of the power.
Compromat, explain the term.
So that's a Russian term. That means something which can compromise you, something
Okay.
which can be used to blackmail you, and this is something which will immediately come to, oh shit, okay, I'm ready to do anything you
So
want.
not intelligence search of targeted individuals, but intelligence search which is a sweep, not knowing when you will need who.
So all
And
the,
what?
So all the devices are going where you can't take out the power, you can't switch it off. They're taking the data. You have no law to localize, and even if there is a law, since you don't control those devices, how do you ensure it when everything is backdoored? Now look at the laws which have come. America has come out with a Cloud Act, US Cloud Act, 2018 or something. They bought out this. It's got an extra, territorial jurisdiction. Even if an American company is hosting it in some other country, they can take the data. China has come out with laws. They say clearly, all Chinese companies, all Chinese citizens will work towards the interests of the Chinese security. What does it mean? All your Chinese appliances and people, they'll have to cooperate with the Chinese government.
But whereas when we are using artificial intelligence, whether it is for Google, I don't want to name anything. For example, I was just, before I went to J&K for the election coverage, I was just randomly asking information about certain known militants, right, who have served several years in prison, came out on bail, went in again, came out again. But as soon as I do a search, there is no history of them ever going into. So it says things like human rights abuses have taken place in India. So even if this person was arrested by India, it is not clear whether there was any link to that person's militancy life. So it has, because the learning model of that app is so differently oriented that for an Indian, searching for the militancy record of that person doesn't exist.
In the case where a self-proclaimed intermediary has now become a publisher, so it cannot claim safe harbor in this nation then, because now it's coloring and it's adding its own opinion.
Yes. So that concept of a safe harbor, you might like to explain to people that when these platforms came to other nations, there was a global understanding that these platforms will be neutral. You can post, they're just hosting you.
Yeah.
They're not responsible for the content. But then a few years back, we realized that they are controlling the content. They can shadow ban you. They can, some certain
Change the
things.
algorithm.
Yes.
Demonetize you from certain platforms.
So what does it mean? That's why if you've got a capability, the intention can always change.
Yeah.
Okay, remember, so these are very important things.
And they hire people within our country also to
Evangelize.
yes.
Absolutely. If you have got the power to print money, okay, you know at one certain point it is going to go bust. What will you do? You will print it so fast and ensure that things are in such a way so by the time the next order comes, you're still in a forward position, right?
So for our viewers and listeners, I'll just give you a random experiment. Just go into Robin Raphael. If you know what Robin Raphael did with the Hurriyat, with India in the 90s, with Kashmir, you know the history. Try and go into any of these algorithms and find out what Robin Raphael is. So if the younger generation of Indians who don't know about Robin Raphael's history and what she did in India in the 90s and with the Hurriyat and with the separatist movement in Kashmir, your younger generation, which is going to get information through that, because India doesn't have that information pathway. If they go through that pathway, you will see what a colored, rosy picture of Robin Raphael you will see, and how India's intentions were suspect when it came to Robin Raphael. Sorry, I'm just needed to say this.
That you need to have a knowledge of who is
Yeah.
Robin Raphael.
That's what I'm saying.
But let me give you something which is more direct, which you can relate to. How long since you have an email?
25 years, I think. 26. I think I had a Hotmail first.
Okay. Now what do you have?
And now Gmail.
How many years?
20 years or 25
20
years.
years of Gmail. Wow. So do you know your mails, what you have sent and received in the last 20 years?
No.
Can you imagine? Supposing it turns out that you were bum chum of, Robin Raphael and there are mails incriminating you.
Yeah.
Okay. How will it look?
Yeah, not too
Hypocritical.
good.
So if you are supposedly had laundered money, if you had done some child pornography, who controls this mail? Who controls those zeros? First, finally, it's all zeros and ones, which can be rapidly changed. So can you imagine the amount of influence which can create after you die? Do you think history itself can be changed? There will be no one to vouch that, I was not like that at all. History will be what the digital evidences will show you as history.
Yeah.
Think about it.
The companies we have talked about, and according to Snowden Revelations, the NSA all had a backdoor into all these companies.
Yeah, for the data. But when you come into intelligentized form of warfare, when people are saying, okay, we'll intelligentize, the next battlefield. So when you are talking about weaponizing the pager, it's not only weaponizing the pager, it's weaponizing the data, right?
Yeah.
There are so many ways you can be taken out. Supposing there is a hot war situation, there's that, one general who is brilliant there can be a way of non-kinetically taking him out, right? He's so brilliant. Okay, fine. How do we remove him? Okay.
Internal dissension can be created.
Can he also be shown as part of a pedophile scandal?
Yeah.
Does he have a daughter there? Can her money vanish?
Yeah.
Can that bank account? Finally, everything is zeros and ones. Who controls those zeros and ones? OSI layer.
But again, we've gone around.
No, but
I want to come back
I'm
to
just painting that picture to you.
the world.
Hopefully, whoever's listening to this podcast, I just hope someone from MIT is listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Multiple people from MIT, Ministry of Information and
So let me also
Technology.
think about it. Tell you one thing. If you have a plan, okay, to your business interests are so huge, it's worth trillions of dollars, okay, billions of dollars, okay, hundreds of billions of dollars, and then you realize if you Google out something called strategic corruption, okay, what is strategic corruption? So you plan, okay, these are the people, right from the political to the bureaucratic. How many people can we get compromise on? How many people can we control? How many people can we place there? That's how you run, your entire strategy, right?
And you manipulate elections. You can do anything with that. Then
There you are. So now it comes back to how did Hezbollah decide to go for a pager, and that particular pager, and how it happened. Just think, how is it possible? It has to have had some human plus tech, right?
Yeah.
And be ready. Otherwise, how can you manipulate to that level?
Yeah. Double pathways or intersecting pathways.
So we are speculating at this point,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to make you understand.
Yeah.
So when you enter the war, when you enter the battlefield, they famously say the victorious armies win before entering. How do the victorious armies win before entering? The preparation is so good.
better intelligence.
Yeah.
Preparation is so good. So if you can plant all your digital appliances, you can control their power, you can control their communication, your smartphones is theirs. So there you are.
And I think like 80% of a war is probably how you plan to go with it.
99.95.
9.5. Okay. So since we are talking at the time of almost the anniversary of the October attacks on Israel, so it's taken them 1 year to plan. They worked on several methods to get their hostages back, but they have planned a ground assault for 1 year before going in for a ground assault.
So that's a total different discussion. It's a huge discussion. From all evidences so far, apparently they were caught
Napping, yes.
napping. The sort of damage, I remember last time when I'd come,
When we discussed
Mossad
it.
was considered, it has lost its sheen.
Yes.
Today it's back.
Yeah.
Now, and look at the years of preparation which would have gone into that.
Yeah.
So people always plan in advance for...
We were talking about the Americans entering the war. The Americans have entered the Ukraine war. The Americans have entered now this Iran-Israel war. Right? You was hinting that it's connected to the dollar.
Of course, see, how do you... I try to explain to you, how are you a hegemon? If you are a hegemonic power, it is your ability to influence other nations by soft and hard power. One is by attractive ideologies, liberal democracy,
Yeah, Mickey Mouse, Hollywood,
Not
everything.
exact-
Yes,
Let's see,
that also.
in one way, I am a great...
It's an aspirational thing, no,
So
to be that.
in one way, I am a great admirer of the US. Okay? Let us grant them...
You would find me very hard to believe that.
I am... let's look at the grand ideas to where it has reached, no?
Yeah.
It is
okay.
an evolution
I
of
get that.
how a nation has been built.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Americans have contributed hugely to human evolution.
Huh.
Okay, it's not all... But why I bring it out is because they are ahead of the rest. So when I study, that's why I study them.
Huh.
I wouldn't want to study Pakistan.
Yeah, obviously. Yes, I get what you mean.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really am great admirer of the Americans.
Huh.
I've got a lot of classmates, relatives, etc. over there. And the systems are brilliant.
Huh.
Okay, how they've created. Look at the depth to which they've, anticipated, planned out.
But we shouldn't be naive.
Yeah, but I'm batting from the Indian side. I'm standing here and batting from this
When I
side.
say
It's not
I mean
Yeah.
India.
But we have not been so... I wouldn't say we have been strategically very brilliant.
So if you were to give me 3 steps in your book. To conclude, I just want to get to that point. 3 steps in your book as to what are our learning lessons from these 2 wars which have happened in a space of 2 years, 2.5
Yeah, you're right.
years,
2.5 years.
right? The 2 wars which have happened and what has happened in our neighborhood with the Bangladesh. What are the 3 steps that we have to learn and correct immediately?
First is humility. We need to be, whatever our civilizational, greatness, which at one time used to be there, we have to realize that we are a civilization which has been colonized and ruled for centuries. Correct? This could not have happened without some fundamental issues in our societal makeup. At the height of British colonial they were just a few thousands. So how can a few thousand people somewhere from outside come and create an imperial this and control you? There's something which you have done wherein this has happened, right? So humility to learn that there is something basically wrong. Second is, I personally feel that we need to look at and relearn strategy. I've clearly said we need to be every bureaucrat, be it civilian or military, when they negotiate or think, they need to think of, and the political leader, because they are the ones who give the direction. Okay, what is the capability and what is intent?
Which we saw in that Venn diagram.
Never bargain away a capability. You can always bargain away your intent. Okay, never bargain away your capability. Your national aim should be capability, not intent. So I feel this is, that is so central, no?
Okay, so we're talking about core issue.
Yeah, so let me, capability. When China took Tibet, I'm told that people said, okay, it had more influence in Tibet, so we allowed it to happen. Or we were not strong enough. That is what history teaches us. That's what was the thinking at that time. But when you look at it, they were also very weak. They were also had a lot of issues out there. That one gave a capability to them. They are occupying the higher ground. All your rivers are originating from there. The intent at that time might not have been anti-Indian, but it very rapidly turned, right? So, capability. Okay, so that's... Then the third thing is, we need to back our people. All our policies should back our people. Why I say this is, we have inherited a lot of laws and culture, organizational cultures of our, government, which is basically meant to control populations. We're basically from the British, right? Our bureaucracy, their thinking, the military, their thinking is all on 2 centuries of occupation. And we did not have a major change after we, took over. So we need to take a de novo look at what are the things. It's not like, for example, the Navy, okay? That pajama and this is nothing. It's just, that is not what we need to change. Right?
Okay.
That's not what we need to change. We need to look into what did the British give us. This was a structure. What was its aim of creating that structure? That study, I somehow feel, has never been done. From the judiciary, the bureaucracy and the military. That study needs to be done, and that study needs to be done without any, cultural bias. Okay? Because that cultural bias, I told you, we were ruled because there were some issues which had come into our society. That's the only reason why others could rule us. If you were so great at one point of time, how did it go bad? What were the things which made it go bad?
So now guardrails that we need to put in place after watching the wars which have happened, global wars, and our neighborhood, Bangladesh, not anticipated, and so we need to put up guardrails.
So there is
immediately, right?
So there is an American concept called keeping up with the Joneses. Okay, if we don't have certain technological do we need to import it? Because if we import it, will we be able to use it? We need to clearly think about that. Okay. Why I say this, I was seeing this debate where I read there is a retired air marshal had written about we can't wait for Atmanirbhar. We shouldn't affect the Air Force's capability. And there was a lot of people trying to oppose it. So I understand. So
We need a healthy mix. That's what the army chief said.
So that is not the thing. What I was trying to say. I saw a civilian immediately saying, "One war is what will take you to learn this lesson. Will other nations come into a war economy to support your effort? Will that imported this be able to support spares, this, that, etc.? I don't think we are thinking like that." I was very happy to see that civilian.
Yeah, because the civilian has learnt after COVID. The
No,
pharma
no.
industry learnt. We
So-
couldn't even make paracetamol, sir.
I don't know who that civilian is, but I personally feel this step for Atmanirbhar.
I'm guessing that's what the
so
civilian...
this Atmanirbhar has given us a class of people who have now committed their life to creating an Indian ecosystem.
Okay.
Okay. Now he has started thinking. He has started getting into it. He realizes, I have committed my life. There is opportunity costs. I have put my money. I have put my life out here. Now, for a short term, he has started thinking into that thing. Am I
Okay.
spending this my tax money? Don't I have a say? Are we doing our policies correctly? So, I'm giving an answer. I don't think we are thinking in that particular. Our mode of thinking itself is, I know what is best and I need this. In the Russian-Ukrainian war, the Air Force has not played such a major role. If you think about it, who is going to be our adversary? Will we be able to? And finally, okay, we import 100 planes. Will that make a major difference at the final stage? If it is an imported plane. Because it is very clear that when huge powers fight, it's going to be a war of attrition. Correct? So can we now take the risk and say, okay, I will be weaker, but I will still make my... That's what China did. There's a lot to learn from China. Okay? Let me tell you, another nation which I totally admire. I admire the Chinese. Lot to learn from how they did it.
Intention and capability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
So
Invest
look
in
at
that.
their own defense tech. I mean,
Consistently their Air Force was weaker than ours. Okay?
Yeah.
Consistently. Because why I say this is, I have listened to numerous lectures where the Air Force senior officers say we are better at this point.
Yeah.
But why didn't we look beyond our nose?
Yeah. Yeah.
the F-22 Raptor, F-35 jets, the American so-called jets, China has reverse engineered that, and they've made jets which look also the same, probably perform as good to J-20, Chengdu, stuff like that.
I've given you three. Then one more thing. The information environment is the most important environment for nation building and national security. And as the press, you've got a huge role to play in that. How people think is primarily planned by the narrative. And that narrative is created by the press. Now, if you look at dispassionately at the literature, the Indian press has also not had, like other, I'm not saying that, we are being too much of influenced by, nations from outside.
Yes, there's no
Correct.
doubt about that.
Okay? From not only from the money to the thinking to the learning and, the best, just about 10 years back, the best guys used to be people who can be trained by the BBC, right? That's the gold standard.
Correct.
So we need to rethink that.
Yes. And that's the reason why we are susceptible to so much of attacks also. So many attacks on a daily basis is because of the whole narrative building thing.
So I have also said social cohesion is our largest strategic threat for India. Even the political class needs to rethink how do we conduct our democratic, what are the places where we say, okay, this line we should not cross.
Yeah.
So I've given enough steps.
That's a different
central to it, actually.
conversation.
It's central to it.
Central, which we touched upon in our last conversation. Maybe when we speak with Jen Shukla, we can talk about that too. On that note, I conclude. Thank you so much for sparing the time and speaking with us, Colonel Saab. So all the best in your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching or listening to this edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.